you can express now, you can now explain what you have understood from these images and from the sound that you heard. Um, so one of the reactions, yeah, because that is important when we deal with images, we have to reach the level where we can describe the images. Yeah, by describing the images, we show that we are able to express ourselves and to explain what is happening in these images. So for this, let's try, for instance, with the first image. Yeah, we usually use I circle the elements that I want to talk about. Yeah, das ist. Das ist
Okay.
Walter Baumann. Das ist Walter Baumann. Yeah. So for the next, I can again use the same principle. I can say das. Das ist Lara. Again. Das ist Lara. Yeah. So here we have a scene where something happens. Yeah. So what happens in the scene? Yeah. Describe what happens in the scene. Yeah. Walter Baumann is reacting to something. He is being requested to do something. How does he react? What is his expression? Yeah. So this is how we do the class. Yeah. What are they doing here? Yeah. So Sophia, das ist Sophia. So what is Sophia doing here in this image? Yeah. So you will listen to the dialogue and then you will identify in the dialogue what is happening. Yeah. So we call this visual comprehension. Yeah. Because you, of course, can understand already some of the words, but most of all, you can feel what the people are saying. So, but for this purpose, we see Lily. Das ist Lily. So Lily does something here. And then she is requested to do it differently. So who requests Lily to do this differently? So who requests Lily to present herself using a mobile phone and not using an image or a drawing or a painting of herself? The next thing that we have to identify in this lesson is the relationship between the persons. Lara Novak, Sophia Baumann, Walter Baumann, and Lily. So, what is the relationship between the four persons here? So, let's start with Lily. Yeah. So Lily is the daughter of someone, but who is Lily's mother? Find out in the recordings. What are the hints? There is a dialogue between both. Lily saying, Mama. And the person that replies is Mama. So the mother of Lily is Sophia Baumann. After that, what is the relationship between Walter Baumann and Sophia? Someone said they might be a couple. Yeah, someone said they might be a couple, but there is a hint which tell us who is Walter Baumann and what is the relationship to Lily. Yeah, this we have to find out. The key to find out what is the relationship is to listen in the dialogue. There is a moment where Walter Baumann is requested to do a photo, a short video introducing himself. He refuses to do so first, but then he does. And in order to convince him, they address him. Lily addresses him as Opa. Opa is nothing different than a short version from the word Großvater. Yeah? So by saying Großvater, which is not easy to pronounce if you pronounce Großvater, small children are often not able, because their mouth does not allow them yet to pronounce so clearly. Their tongue is too big and they cannot coordinate well yet their mouth muscles. So small children, toddlers, they say Opa. Yeah. So Opa is actually Großvater. So now that we know that Vater, which is for children, of course. How do children say in your country? Do they say Baba or do they say Papa? Yeah. The difference between Baba and Papa is simply the strength that is put into the tension of lips. In order to see the tension of your lips when you pronounce Baba or Papa. If you pronounce Papa, there is way more tension on your lips and the air flows out which with more pressure, as you can see on this sheet. Papa, Baba, 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 Papa. Yes? Okay, so we have to see how do children say Papa or Baba in your context? So in the German context, toddlers say Papa. Yeah, they use that plosive sound, Papa. And this plosive sound is very important in German language. Another thing, now we have learned Opa, and we know that Großvater means grandfather. So groß means big, grand, huge, groß. Okay, we know another word we can easily guess. The word is Großmutter. Großmutter. So now guess what is the short form, the toddlers or the way children express Großmutter. What is it? Try to guess. Opa is Großvater. So how could Großmutter be like? Yeah, you probably guessed right. It is Oma. Oma is equivalent to Großmutter, grandma. Yeah, so Oma is grandma. Okay, so get used to this. Get used to read images, to interpret images. Yeah, so when you see an image where there are two persons, what could be the word this person's saying? Yeah, let's say the person probably says no. You can interpret the gesture. You can say no, nein, nein, ach nein. Yeah. And the rest of the family is insisting. Yeah. They are trying to convince Walter Baumann. They are trying to convince by saying yes, ja, or doch, ach, bitte. Yeah. So they are trying to convince the grandfather to use a mobile phone to record himself, introducing himself. You have this in the video. And he does it quite well. So at the end of this session, everyone introduces him or herself using a camera. So there are different ways to use a camera. You can do this for your own. You can record this personally, but you can also share this and help others to learn. I recommend it, especially if you are learning now, because you will see that in the future, your pronunciation will improve dramatically. Yeah. So to see the before and after, I encourage you to record yourself when you pronounce something, even if you feel like you're not sure about whether it is correct or not. You will soon find out how you can um, improve your skills. So, we have learned now that there are different ways to introduce to each other. One way that we have seen is, I delete now all the, yeah, so we get closer to the different ways to introduce oneself. And this way is probably interesting to see and to compare to what you already know in other languages. So I would like to address this. There are some words in German which look very similar, extremely similar to English, but there are some details. First detail is that despite it looks like English, you cannot pronounce it like English. Yeah. So the correct pronunciation is Name. Name. Yeah. So this is pronounced Name. Name. Another word which might sound similar to English is mein. Mein Name. But in German, what is very important is to pronounce the consonants at the end of each word. So here you have mein Name. Yeah, there is a vowel at the end, which is also very important to pronounce. So when you see words in German, you have to pronounce all the letters that you see, and especially the letters that are at the end of a word are a key to understand the word. So this is mein Name ist. Ist. Yeah. Again, you have this consonant at the end. Ist. Yeah. There is this T sound. Ist. In this class, someone identified the sound, and in order to sign it, we use this. Ist. Ist. Okay, so what else? There is a name which you know maybe from English as well, which is Walter. Walter. Now, this W in German, W, W, W. Yeah. The sound is created by putting your 4 teeth on your lip, on your lower lip, and press air. It vibrates. It can even be itching your lips. Exercise this because in your language you probably don't have this sound. So when you exercise new sounds like you're doing things with your mouth that you are not used to. So you have to repeat this regularly. I suggest you to use this um, sound just to play around or in other occasion that you have to use the so the person's name is Walter, Walter Baumann. Baumann. Yeah. So I use my sheet again for the B sound. It's Walter Baumann. Baumann. Yeah. So the sound Bau, Bau, B, B. Yeah. There must be some tension on the lips to pronounce Baumann. Baumann. Okay. There is another word here which is probably very distant from what you have seen so far. It's heiße, heiße. And it comes with a consonant that you're not familiar with yet. This consonant is called SZ. SZ. You don't have this on your keyboard unless you have a German keyboard. Therefore, I suggest you to um, get or to install a German keyboard on your device. Yeah, add the German language keyboard. This will add not only the SZ, but it will also add the vowels with umlaut. We call it umlaut. These are vowels that have these diacritic characters on top. So these are the three vowels with umlaut that we have learned so far. Ö, Ü, and the last one, Ä. Yeah, again, Ö, Ü, Ä. Okay, so the word ich heiße, that S sound, SZ, yeah, that is something which is disappearing from our language, but we still use it in many words. So SZ is nothing else than a sound. Ich heiße. Yeah, ich heiße. Okay, so that is the SZ. We call it SZ. SZ. Okay, I push this aside. Okay, another word which could remind you of English is ich. 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 For my lessons, I encourage my students to use their hands. Why? Because with your hands, you can say things and you can interpret easily what someone is saying. And very important is also the use of your mouth. So when you're in class, show your mouth. It's easier. Yeah, if you show your mouth, I can see what you are saying. So we exercise this. Ich, ich. And I'm using my hand to sign. And I touch myself while I do this. It's very important to touch your body. And I encourage my students also to stand up. Yeah, because we tend to sit a lot in front of our devices, and it is important to move, not only for your health, but also for your brain to learn. Yeah, so you can learn better if you use movements. Ich, du, du, du. So this is the movement for do. And you already know what it means. Now there are more words from this family of words, which are called the pronouns, the personal pronouns. And this, the, sie, guess what it means? Sie, er, er, es. So, I hope you guessed correct. Ich, du, sie, er, es. She, he, it. Yeah. So it is still pretty similar to English. Ich, I. Ich, I. Du, you. Sie, she. Er, he. Es, it. Yeah. Again, you see the similarities between English and German are several, and you can see also the differences. And the differences are mainly that in German, we use more consonants and we pronounce these consonants. And the pronunciation of these consonants is the main challenge in learning German. But there are some more things that you have to learn about German language when it comes to verbs. And we are going to see a few more verbs. So far on this page, we have seen, well, there are two verbs here. One is heiße, ich heiße, and you can see it ends on heiße, äh. And there is another verb, ist, which you can easily guess what it means. Ist. Mein Name ist. Yeah, the T sound is important here. So we're going to see a few more verbs on this page. The page has 4 characters. And how does each character introduce him or herself? Ich komme aus Deutschland. Ich komme aus Deutschland. So you see here, we have this verb, which is probably familiar to you. It sounds very similar to the verb in English, but you see more consonants. And you see an ending. And that ending, very similar to the ending we saw before. Ich heiße. Ich komme. Yeah. So you see, is the ending for verbs which are related to the first person. And this first person in German is ich. 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 Okay, we can see how this repeats for Walter Baumann. Ich komme aus Deutschland. Aus Deutschland. Let's see Sophia. Ich komme aus Polen. Ich komme aus Polen. Okay, and finally Lilly. Ich komme aus Deutschland. You see, we have 3 female characters and 1 male character. Nonetheless, they all use ich to refer to I, no matter whether they are masculine or feminine. Ich. Okay, so what else? What other verbs can we identify? We can see that German language is organized in subject, ich, verb, komme, object, Deutschland, aus Deutschland. Yeah, so we have this subject, verb, object constellation, and this repeats here. Ich spreche. Ich spreche. Okay, so everyone introduces him or herself by presenting where they come from and the languages they speak. Polnisch. Polnisch. And here, the country, Poland. Poland. Okay, one more word here is English. English. And Spanisch. Spanisch. Ein bisschen. Ein bisschen Spanisch. You can guess what ein bisschen means. Ein bisschen. Okay, so for today's lesson, what we exercise is to conjugate verbs. Yeah, this is already advanced. It's not expected you to know this, but you will probably have done exercises in Duolingo and you will have seen this before somewhere. So we do it. So, I can say, das ist Lara. I can say, sie kommt aus Deutschland. Das ist Lara. Sie kommt aus Deutschland. And what you see here is that what has changed between those? Komme, sie kommt. Sie kommt. So the third person, sie, she, the third person, sie, komm. Yeah, there is a T sound at the end. Yeah, so the ending for the third person, singular, is apparently t. Komm, komm. Okay, so we have a verb stem, which is constant, komm, and this verb stem, to this verb stem, we add an ending to identify the person. I mean, the first person, ich. Second person, du. Third person, sie. Er. Es. Okay, we will continue this from the third person. Yeah, the third person, I have to edit this. Here we edit it. So that is the third person. Third person is used to talk about someone who is not in the room, someone we cannot address in presence. The second person, du, the second person, du kommst aus Deutschland. Du bist Lara. Du kommst aus Deutschland. So between these two persons, we have already identified bist. Interesting, right? Very similar, but for the second person, there is a be in front. Careful. The verb sein, so ich bin, du bist, das ist. This is an irregular verb, so we have to take great care with this. We will see this later again, but let's focus again on regular verbs. Regular verbs are those that follow certain rules that can be applied to most of the cases. So the irregular verbs are those odd cases which vary from the rule. But here we have the verb kommen. We have the verb kommen. Kommen, which is the infinitive. Now, the infinitive is something that we, in German, the infinitive of a verb is usually created by the ending n. Yeah, the infinitive of a verb is a verb which hasn't been conjugated yet. Yeah, which is not assigned to a person. So we can create this in English by using, yeah, we can say to eat, to come, to talk, to speak, whatever. So by using to, we are creating an infinitive. In German, we don't do it that way. Instead, we add en at the end of the verb. Yeah. So this applies to regular cases. En at the end of a verb to generate the infinitive. Now, when it comes to the verb to be, ich bin, I am. Ich bin, I am. Ich bin, the verb bin, is irregular. Yeah. So the second person, du bist. The third person, sie, es, ist. You see, we have it's very it's similar to some extent still here in the singular. First person, second person, and third person is singular is. But when we go to the plural, we will see a difference. Wir sind. Wir sind. Ihr seid. Ihr seid. And finally, sie sind. So you see, there are some coincidences among these words. And now guess what the infinitive is. The infinitive is sein. Yeah, so that makes it a bit tricky. Infinitive is sein. And this is the singular, of course. Okay, so we have seen I make it short, singular and plural. So these two, these regular and irregular verbs we have to deal with. So I encourage you to use these exercises. For instance, for the verb sein, I would ask you to do movements. Ich bin. Du bist. Sie, es ist. Wir sind. Ihr seid. Sie sind. Now, someone found out that sie, the feminine singular, is very similar, not to say identical, to the plural, they. And yes, in fact, sie is almost identical. And we wouldn't notice a difference unless we conjugate the verb. Sie ist. Sie ist. She is. Sie sind. They are. And of course, this could be already confusing, but language is redundant enough so that we can discard this kind of confusions. In German, we always use the pronouns. Not all languages do, so we have to. Ich komme aus Deutschland. We cannot omit the pronoun in German language. Yeah, so it is necessary to be mentioned. Ich komme. Du kommst. Sie kommt. Er kommt. Es kommt. Wir kommen. Ihr kommt. Sie kommen. Again, there are some coincidences. So there are some, again, I repeat it completely. Ich komme. Du kommst. Er, sie, es kommt. Wir kommen. Ihr kommt. And finally, sie kommen. Now, if you place this next to the irregular verb, let me put it somehow next to it. I have to rearrange my elements here. Just a second. So colors, white. Can I cover up this thing? No, I cannot really cover it up. Can I change the transparency? Yes, I can. Okay, so I cover this up. And I put it side to side so that we can compare it more easily. So, is it side by side? Almost, yes. So, for the, what? Uh, okay, I did a mistake. Something happened. Yeah, so there we are again. Okay, it seems like it switches to the back. Yeah, okay, so I rearranged the stuff here. I don't need this, either that. Yeah, so for here, I just rearrange it on these. Yeah, uh, yeah, I need some white space now. Mm, uh, okay, so I will place it on this side, sein, and on the other side, common. And this I don't need. Okay. Okay, so now we can see it side by side. And we can identify clearly that some of the endings are very similar, not to say identical. They are identical indeed. But I want to point out this for you to learn the endings of the verbs. So in the irregular verb sein, ich bin, du bist, er, sie, es ist, and wir sind, ihr seid, sie sind. Yeah, so here you can see that the E remains, and here you can see that in the plural, wir, the first person plural, wir, and the third person plural, sie, they both have sind, yeah, as an irregular verb. This repeats, this phenomenon of being the same repeats also in regular verbs here. Wir kommen, sie kommen. Yeah, so this is something which you have to learn by heart, obviously, these rules, and also for the irregular verbs, you have to learn it by heart. So again, I just point out the endings of each. Yeah, ich komme, du kommst, er, sie, es kommt. Yes, so can I, no, oh, it covers up. Yeah, so this is basically it for today. I ask you to learn by heart the infinitive sein, plus, of course, the conjugated verb in singular and plural. So if you're able to learn by heart these two things, you will be well prepared to continue throughout the book. And very important to learn the rules for the regular verbs, the endings, yeah, the verb conjugations. Ich komme, du kommst, er, sie, es kommt, wir kommen, ihr kommt, sie kommen. Yeah. I encourage you to use your hands to learn. I encourage you also to stand up and to do movements like ich. Ich heiße, ich komme, ich spreche. Du, du bist, du bist. Du kommst. Du sprichst. And here you might have noticed that there is an E sound that enters the verb sprechen. So you see, sprechen is already irregular because the sound changes from spreche to sprichst. Du sprichst. I continue, third person. Er, sie, es spricht. Spricht. And I continue. Wir sprechen. Ihr sprecht. Sie sprechen. So, that's all for now. Find a way to learn this by heart. Exercise a little, like 10 minutes every day, and do movements. Ich, du, sie, er, es, wir, ihr, sie. Okay, also dann. Gute Nacht. Gute Nacht.